I just want to remind you that when I mentioned that I was afraid of hosting these people, it's because we are dealing with a time on which I'm also a student and they are experts. When Amin came to power in 1971, I was in P3 in Mugwanya Preparatory School, Kabojja. And some of my colleagues sitting near me were already in service. So you pray for me. Now, permit me to start with the Omutaka Kasolo. Apart from his CV, which I've heard being mentioned, I interacted with the Uncle Dick when he was in Kayayu Film Players with my sister Rona Serwada. And even at that time, he was a practicing journalist. You were in Kasese.
Well,
yes.
I started in 76 at the ministry headquarters in Omukulembeze newspaper. Then 1977.
Now, before you talk of Omukulembeze newspaper,
yes,
there's a Mukulembeze who is coming now. There's a Mukulembeze who has come in.
We've been waiting for him.
Yes. Who am I to... You see how powerful I am? I'm in charge of all these people.
Okay.
For those who don't know, this is the one and only Honorable Aggrey Awori Sirioi. When television started in Uganda, the rest of those who can tell the story are not here. He's here. And a lot of other things. He will even tell us how he sneaked away from the country which had just been liberated from another. Welcome, sir. Can I ask you to just greet the people who have just known that you are here?
Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for arriving late. We have a propensity of committing ourselves too much. So I was delayed in the previous meeting. My apologies, but I'm now here.
Thank you, sir. You found us asking the information officer of Kasese, and I'm talking about 1977, not now.
That's right. And I was telling you, I joined the ministry in 76. And when I talk of that, I think my colleague here says I'm a very young boy because for him, he joined earlier than me. When I joined in 76, I worked for 1 year in Mukulembeze newspaper, and I think it closed 1 year after. As you know, all industry, they had closed. We had a news factory, a newspaper factory in Ginger. It had closed because when Idi Amin chased away the Asians, we could no longer get newsprint to print the newspapers. So they stopped publishing Mukulembeze newspaper. So when they stopped, they transferred me to Kasese district because at the Ministry of Information, I was a news reporter for Mukulembeze newspaper. So I was transferred to Kasese district together with other colleagues of mine who were reporters. And then I went, by that time I was in the section called newspaper section. Then when the newspaper stopped coming out, I went to the Directorate of Information. Then the Directorate of Information again transferred me to the news department. So
of a newspaper that was not coming out?
Pardon?
Of a newspaper that was not coming out?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Then I went to Kasese district as a district information officer in charge, Uganda-Zaire border.
What was the most, let me use the word, dangerous story you ever reported? Dangerous in the sense that either the ones you are reporting about could deal with you, or the ones you are reporting to could deal with you.
You're talking about before I left? Or,
yes, while you were in service.
Or when I was at the district?
No, throughout your career in the media, what is the toughest story you ever put down? Or you were just praising the government?
Well, I remember when I was in my career at the Ministry of Information, there's when I reported about thieves which were caught stealing a car, and I think some of these thieves were somehow like you see people now. I mean, in the government, you can report about somebody who is related to big people in in this government. And now, when I report about thieves, they came for me. There were such. I mean, there's what were called state researchers. State researchers were people who could come for you in plain clothes. They could take you, and you could never be seen again.
State Research Bureau was the intelligence gathering body of
That's
the
right.
government of President Amin.
That's right.
And
so when they came for me, there was a certain boy, I don't remember his name, I don't know whether he was, he came for me and he said, "Why did you report this story?" I started trembling and said, "Do you know me very well?" That was the word they used to use. Do you know me? Whenever you could use that word, if you were clever, you could either disappear from Uganda or hide yourself for some time.
so how did you survive? Did you pay a bribe or something?
Wait, I don't know. I was brave. I told the board that I was doing my work, and if these people were not thieves, they could come out. But I just say, God was on my side. Because during those days, they could come for you, you could never be seen again. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Now let me get to Arjun Siriko Abdul. And straight away, Hajj, you have been in the thick of things. I wouldn't want to go right to that. Your CVs are too heavy. Because we could spend here a whole day just telling people about what we've gone through. I want us to deal with a specific area. During the period which we are reviewing is, I think, when you joined the service. What would you consider the dangers of service during that period? And how do you relate, how do you explain the fact that you have never actually got into trouble throughout that period, yet other people did get into trouble? Were they careless? Were they reckless? Were you blessed? Or you were too careful to do proper journalism? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, narrator or moderator. I want, first of all, before I go further, to put my case before the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm filing this case before you so that you decide whether it is right for the moderator of the program to have positioned me in a way that I could not look behind to see what he was demonstrating for you. Deliberate. The rest of others could do it. I could see them. But for me, I could not look back because it was directly, as you can see it. Was that the right way? Was it deliberate?
By virtue of the authority entrusted in me, I have closed that referendum. Proceed. Otherwise, I would declare this an illegal assembly.
Okay. What was very important at that time, ladies and gentlemen, if we want to be precise, there was just one incident where it happened on me that though I was very careful, extremely careful, with either my words or my actions during, of course, my work. I'm bringing you this scenario which happened in Namugongo in 1975 when we were having OAU here. During that time, we were going to have Radio Uganda had started off other dialogues or languages like Arabic, French, and Kiswahili on radio. And during that time, we were part of the activities to mark OAU openings in Kampala was the launching of the Muslim shrine at Namugongo, because there were also Muslims who died during the reign of some of our traditional leaders, or tradition leader for that matter. I don't need to mention.
Muslims refused to eat meat slaughtered by the hand of Mutesa I, who was claiming Islam but had not been circumcised. So they refused to eat, saying he was giving them haram meat. And to express his unhappiness, he killed 100 of them, only at Namugongo. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
It is good you have said it yourself. So, what happened, ladies and gentlemen, in 1975, we were going to inaugurate, or to launch for that matter, whatever you want to say, or open the shrine for the Muslim matters at Namugongo. But on that occasion, I was assigned the duty to train one of the new commentators who was going to do commentary in Arabic on that occasion. Therefore, we went with that gentleman called Abdul Nsanja. He's still living. And we went with Nsanja. And as I was talking to him, briefing him on what was taking place in the country at that time, innocently, somebody, the state researcher, as Kasolo was saying, was eavesdropping on the side here. And then when he heard me telling Nsanja that, remember that there are some explosives here and there in town, because there were some malicious activities taking place at that time to sabotage OAU sitting in Kampala. So there were some explosions here and there. And I was trying to brief that gentleman that, please, when things of that nature happen here, please, for goodness sake, don't mention that on air, because we are going to be live. Therefore, be careful with your language, with the way you talk, and the way that you submit. Because if you don't, then of course some forces here and there will apprehend you and will hold you responsible for whatever you have taken here during your commentary.
A moment, Arjun Siriko. How do you explain professionally you telling someone not to broadcast something that is happening live when the program is also live?
Yeah, because
what are you now checking?
No, because security-wise, it was not necessary. Either by broadcasting that event or that happening live on air would scare the people, would scare the government, would scare the visitors, would even scare anybody at that time who was interested in what is taking place here in Uganda. In other words, you are about to destroy the values of the country by you simply uttering whatever you are uttering simply because it has happened. In other words, there, you are supposed to be very careful what you are doing, what you are saying, and the repercussions that might come out of what you are saying on air. Now, the eavesdropper
You are acquitted.
Here, sorry?
You are acquitted.
I am, thank you. Now, what happened, our friend here, the researcher, took the case to one of the big shots at that time. He's still living, and I don't want to make a mention of him.
You will tell me privately.
I will. And he reported me that Nzereko, Abdul, they used to refer to me as Abdul. Abdul is planning with the other boy there that they are going to plant a bomb around here,
Allah.
which is going to explain.
Allah.
Which is going to explode. And of course, he's now part and parcel of the guerrillas from Tanzania who are doing these dirty activities against the state. In about 10 minutes, 2 of us were rounded up from the scene and we were taken to state research, which he was talking about.
What means of transport were used?
Sorry?
What was the means of transport?
The vehicle was UVS. Some people were calling it Uganda very silly, not knowing that UVS, if you put that Uganda very silly and those people had you say so, that was also another offense. Very big trouble. Now, on reaching Nakasero, after 2 days...
Hajj, were you seated or in the boot?
No, we are seated at the back seat.
Okay.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
And because we were not one, but we were very many in the back seat. On reaching Nakasero, after 2-3 days, with some hot cakes during the morning of the days that we started off our exile there.
Hajj, what are hot cakes?
The hot cakes were coming in a way of, they used to call them hot cakes because they thought that whenever they gave you those cans, you'd touch there and you'd cry as a boy or as a girl who was eating something very hot. That's what they used to say.
So you got kiboko?
You can call it shiboko,
Yeah.
or you can call it, but I think chiboko is much better.
Okay.
I'm telling you this so that you know, as he put the question, that something could have been used by somebody yet to be negative on you when you're actually doing your work, as he was saying, and then in the long run, you could fall victim. Fortunately, when they arrested us, they took us with a tape recorder, UHA type. For some of you who know these broadcasting machines, UHA type. But on reaching there, they reported to say that Abdul was using a camera also to take the pictures of the scene before the explosions take place.
Was that person describing the tape recorder?
He called it a camera.
Yes, there you are.
And now, on the third day, there I'm telling you briefly, on the third day when we were taken before, a gentleman, I call him a gentleman because I think he released us after getting the information properly. When we went to that gentleman called Lieutenant Wanyama, we explained again. And he said,
No. Hajj. How could you spend 3 days when the law says 48 hours?
No, the law said the 48 hours in a jail which is gazetted to be jail, or prisons which are prisons.
Where were you then?
Or police. We were in what we call public safety hospital, or public safety, as some of them used to call it hospital, others used to call it a public safety unit, others used to call it public safety jail. It all depended.
Okay. Then the second question is, Lieutenant Wanyama a judge or a magistrate?
Yeah.
Because you are supposed to be taken to...
No, the magistrate then, Lieutenant Wanyama, wanted to hear us also talk about ourselves. And so he said, but they said that they arrested you with a camera. I told him, no, sir. This was not a camera. They said, let them bring it. They brought the camera. And when they brought the camera, they placed it before him. He said, this is the camera. I said, no, sir. This is not a camera. This is a tape recorder. Look at it. Open it. There is even a tape. And on this tape, we had said, or we had recorded what we call opening remarks. Hello, we're at Namugongo here, blah, blah. We're about to have a live broadcast, blah, blah, this and that. This is what it is. The gentleman said, I think you are right. And whatever they have told me, or whatever they have told us, is wrong. These are your people, the state research boys. Okay. This is how they implicate people. So I'm now acquitting you. Please, you are now acquitted. Go away.
Welcome back, Hajj. Welcome back.
You see the point?
Now, you've shown me the bad side. You might create the impression that working in the media under President Amin was all terror. What was your own personal... Did you ever meet the man? Was he easy to work with? Because the impression may be created that that's what was happening all the time. And I think it would be unjust if you know something different from what might be created as an impression. Hajj, was the man always disturbing you through his agents, or you did your work peacefully?
No, he was not. I would not say that he was responsible for that as Amin, because he might not have even known that Abdul was arrested, except that I heard that he got information that there were some journalists at Namugongo who were trying to plan to make explosives so that they spoil this occasion. That's all I heard about it. But later on, I met Amin on an occasion when we were having celebrations to mark the birthday of Prophet Muhammad.
Peace be upon him.
Peace be upon him, at Old Kampala. And he said, Abdul Nzereko said, oh, you are doing positive work. Your work is positive. I think your work is very good. This is very important. And I think everybody is not complaining about your work. I think you will keep it up. And please keep it up.
Did you tell him about the other cakes?
I didn't tell him because it was not necessary.
Okay.
It was not necessary. So
okay.
That's what it is, sir.
Thank you very much, Hajj. Now I'm going straight to Mr. Rwakoma. Can you oh, he has his. Don't disturb him. I can see, when I describe you, I see you are a man of clear-headed leadership. Mr. Rwakoma. Your clear-headed leadership, as I can see. Now, you are described as a freelance photographer at that time. It would be interesting for me to know where a freelance photographer was taking his photographs. Secondly, what risks did you face, if any, without inventing them really? Don't invent.
No.
What risks did you face? What are the most deadly photographs you ever attempted to take, and where are they? Thank you, sir.
Oh, my good God, I would love to thank the audience who have come to listen to this. I was a young man, and I got interested in a camera. I took Awori, Honorable Awori, when he was still strong, and I was still youth. I got my pinhole camera, and I started taking pictures.
Excuse me, what is a pinhole camera? Is it a camera with a pin?
Well, yeah, it was a pinhole camera because you would look at it here, and it had only one way to put in the picture on a film of 120.
Ilford 120.
Ilford 120 or Kodak 120.
Okay.
That was way back in 1956.
You were shooting people, I mean photographs, that far back?
Yes.
Okay.
Taking the whole village, and people come to see the pictures I had taken. So from then, I got interested in taking pictures. I ran around the whole village, even the district.
Which district?
That Ankole district.
Aha.
It was Ankole at that time.
So you could be described as the photograph of Ankole at that time?
The photograph of Mugabe, photograph of the cathedrals, and the people and the schools.
Okay. Go ahead.
That was my job as a teacher. I'm a trained teacher. So, the one now coming to Amin, I had befriended Amin, or he befriended me, because he was a sports person. And I was leading YMCA, which was Young Men's Christian Association. He was staying behind the YMCA. And he was always going around to come to our gym.
YMCA here in Kampala?
No, in Jinja.
Aha. Okay.
And he was the commanding officer of Gaddafi. He befriended me. He said, "Can you open for me here?" And I come in. So I asked the board, they cut the gate, they put there the door for him, and he was renting a house of Mr. Basilio, Basil Dungu. So we opened. We became friends. And he was always calling me to take pictures of his family. Every time he wanted me to, photographs, he loved photographs. And I would go there. Now, the picture I took, which brought me for problems.
Hey, pictures also brought you problems?
Very much.
Carry on.
The picture I took of Idi Amin was when he was swimming at Kira Club.
Was he swimming naked?
Yeah, he could take off and remain with a pant.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That's how we swim.
I took that picture in 73.
When he was the president?
He was the president already. And I sold it to Camera Pix. And that picture was all over the world.
How much did you sell it? I don't want some of the money, but I just, how much?
I sold it to a man called, he was a photographer. He was also Amin.
Muhammad Amin.
Muhammad Amin.
How much?
I think he gave me quite a number, about 2,000 shillings at that time. Yes. Because he wanted, I sold him the whole roll. And when the war was in Mutukura, he started bombing around Jinja, the Bank of Baroda, and all those places. These were the, I think war was with them, maybe. I don't know.
I thought you were saying you saw him.
No, I don't know where he was, because
he will tell us.
We were together in the same party, and me, I was interested in money. I would take pictures and sell them, get money, and do my business.
So what trouble did you get in after selling the picture?
When Muhammad Amin took that picture, and the war was in Mutukura, they wrote on that picture. And it sold. Even in, I think, your drum, that picture appeared. They said, is Amin swimming or sinking? Maybe some of you might have seen that picture. Is Amin sinking or swimming? Swimming. Yes.
Is Amin sinking or swimming?
Then they looked for someone who might have taken that picture.
Whom we are seated with here?
Yes. They looked for me. I didn't know they were looking for me. And, but he was my friend, to be very sincere. He gave me money to do business. Whenever I took the pictures, he would pay me handsomely. I would put them in an album. So as a freelancer, I was taking, even giving them, maybe to your paper. Yes? Mukrembeze, Uganda Agassi, and Muno. Those pictures were appearing. And I was earning. So I didn't care where I took the pictures of the cows, people, portraits, and what have you, weddings. And that's how I grew.
You haven't told me how you got trouble.
Yes.
Did they get you?
They never got me.
Explain.
The story is wrong.
Yeah,
I was in my shop, photograph shop. It was early in the morning, and they had warned me that I must go. There was a man who was a governor called
Nyangabyaki.
No, Nasuru. Yes.
Of Kampala.
And another one, Muhammad. He was his assistant. One of the girls wrote me a cheat. He said, if you want to be alive, you better escape and go. I said, for what? The picture you took has brought you problems. In the morning, that young man there, you see, he was already born. Hey, Eric. Yes, and now I told him take pictures. He replaced me. Yeah.
Is your professional next of kin?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
As I was in my shop organizing pictures and trying to go to the bank, I saw that red Datsun. They came and they entered my shop. I was behind the counter. They said I had bought a Renault TX which I was using to take my colored pictures.
16 TX.
16 TX.
Uh-huh.
I was rich.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Renault 16 was not for everybody.
It was not for everybody. Then they entered the shop. I was just behind the counter. They said, "Hey, you man." I came out. They said, "Where is the owner of this car, Renault?" I said, "The owner?" I was putting on shorts and wearing slippers. I dashed out. I said, "This man has just gone out."
You didn't look like the owner.
No, I wasn't the owner that time.
Okay.
I said, if he has not taken the main street, my shop was opposite police post in Ginger. It is still there. Then they said, has he gone very far? No, I said, he should be around. He has taken either this road or
that one.
The other. Then the fellows, others went on foot, others started driving, then one other man kept on walking. They said, where has he gone, in which bank? I said, Barclays Bank. They all went to Barclays Bank.
Then where did you go?
Oh my God Almighty.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a quick dash. I had to get the money I was supposed to take to bank because I had a loan in the bank. It was about at that time it was 200,000, that money, about 200,000. And I had borrowed 800,000. So I put it in the car and I started driving. I left the shop closed. When I remember those stories.
Where did you drive to? To Ankole?
I drove down towards Chirinya, mm-hmm. and then turned to my left. There was a man called Mukuru. He had a petrol depot. I told him the story. He filled my car, and I had to drive. I drove towards Nyamagamaga, knowing that the fellows will. Instead of going to Mamaga, I passed through the nearby the roads, the roads which were going to the villages, to homes, to what have you, until when I passed the Magamaga, which was the main headquarters also of mechanized something. Mm. So I went in the village also and landed at a fishing port, mm-hmm. wearing my slippers, my shirt, on a vest, and I was almost killed.
Did you leave the country?
Yeah, I left the country. I'm coming I was going to pass through, what do you call it?
You want to go through Maraba? Or where?
No. Busia.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through Busia.
Yeah.
And when I reached Busia, there was a policeman who knew me. And he said, Rwakoma, how are you dressed? Are you mad? I said, I'm not mad, but I'm escaping.
You told the policeman that you were escaping?
Yes.
Okay.
That I was escaping Amin's men.
Mm.
He took me, gave me his trouser and a shirt, and I crossed the border. You can't believe it. That's when I had my first meal.
No, I can believe it if you tell me.
I was really relieved. That was the picture that brought me problems.
Do you think the president of the time ordered people to look for you, or they used their initiative?
No, a man called Okai, who was a governor.
Okai?
Yes. He was always after me, that I was taking pictures to send to Dar es Salaam, to Obote. which I was not, because me, I was taking pictures to earn money. That's what I told him.
So you were saying you could send them to Dar es Salaam without you knowing it?
No, I never sent no pictures to Dar es Salaam. Only the pictures that Muhammad Amin bought. It was a whole roll. If it had remained there, they ransacked my shop. If it had remained there, I would be dead by now.
Thank you,
But
Mr.
thank
Rwakoma.
God, I got saved, and I drove a friend of mine called a carrier, who had actually sold me the shop in Ginger. And I had all the good shirts, all the good trousers and tan shirts, and all the good things. And women, he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "We are running away." He accommodated me for about 5 days. Then they came checking who were refugees and what have you. He gave me some travel document. I had my YMCA card. I drove my car up to Nairobi. And I wanted to join Ubotis and Rangarangas and all these fellows, Ruza Chirunda. But I said, let me keep in Kenya for 3 months until I came back.
You came back after 3 months?
Yes.
And you didn't get into further trouble?
No, there were no further problems. But I continued with my freelance photography.
Did you come back when President Amin was still in charge?
No.
Aha.
After Kampala had fallen, I came back.
Okay. Thank you very much.
The pleasure.
And we also thank God for you having survived that. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, there are times when the leaders may not know some of the initiatives which their subordinates take, but that does not always absolve them. Now,
I just wanted to let the people know
please.
that I wrote a book about photography and how I started it. And it is in this small book. When you go to that place where they sell books here, they will give you a book. You pay.
Can you read the title of the book?
It is all the tricks in photography.
All the tricks.
All the tricks in photography.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think
it's about 20,000.
Only.
It's not much, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think the photographers here need it, because the tendency these days of camera people is to point the camera and let it do the rest. I think that is not smart. Yes. Now, I'm very privileged to be seated next to Omuhongo Aggrey Awori, who is history itself. Yes. Can I borrow that microphone immediately? Now, Honorable Awori, as far as we are concerned here, you are live on UBC TV and other channels of the national broadcaster, of which you are part and parcel of the genesis. Can you briefly remind us of the experiences you went through when in charge of television during the time we are addressing, and what guidance you can give on the basis of what you went through for such things not to happen again if they don't have to? I also want to take this opportunity to mention the presence of an OB of mine, merely as evidence that I also went to school. Yeah, because there are some people who have been doubting. Fred Gwedeko, can you please stand up for recognition? Yes, yes, he will confirm that I was in school really, because, and not as a casual laborer. Fred Gwedeko is a leading researcher, and I'm very proud of the fact that he's here. He's a foremost researcher on some of the things which other people think are rumors. And most of what he puts down is, you could even call it gospel truth. Honorable Awori.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Chairman, fellow panelists, and ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I wish to repeat my apology for arriving late due to some other previous commitments. Mr. Moderator, I might be a misfit of this panel in that the Amin I knew and worked with, not under, was the same, not the same kind of Amin that evolved when he was in power. Briefly, my background, as the moderator has put it, I was the first Ugandan head of broadcasting, taking from a Briton, Mr. Robert Coulter, from the BBC. I specialized in the coverage of television. My academic training actually was almost irrelevant to the ministry. On completion of my education at some school in the US called Harvard, it's a small...
Excuse me, sir. Are you describing the Harvard we know or some school called Harvard?
It is the one you know.
Ah, okay. Go on, sir.
In the US, Boston, Massachusetts, or Cambridge, Massachusetts, exactly. On completion, I came back home and joined the academia, University of East Africa. I didn't stay there long. I was called upon by my mentor at that time, President Obote, to come and help him with political communications in the country. Things were not particularly stable, so they needed proper communication and press coverage. Take, for instance, there had been some turbulence, but all along, people had not realized the role of the media in politics. The only thing we knew about the media, about politics, was the time you announce a coup on the radio. That was the most important thing. We didn't have the luxury of the social media. We didn't have the luxury of other forms of communications. So for me, Obote said, can you prepare a political message for the public? During that period, from 67 when I took over, I had some contact initially, or some time back in the early 60s, when I was a sportsman, and Amin was also a sportsman. Amin had a knack for the media, which most people don't appreciate or don't know. Amin knew the role of the media and getting his message across. He may not have had formal education as most of us, but he knew how to reach the people. Whenever Amin had any exercise, military exercise, he would invite me. Come with your cameraman. And actually, Amin gave us luxury of flying to any event, wherever, if there was an airstrip around. Obviously...
Honorable Awori, are we talking about Amin, the Army commander now?
Army commander, exactly. Absolutely.
So, let me now...
I'm just preparing you how Amin takes over the government.
Yes, now I'm dismissing your earlier claim that you don't fit here. Please proceed.
So you, in other words, accept me as relevant?
Plenty.
Very good. Amin would invite us. We would cover the event, whether it's a military passing out parade or exercise. This was a tactic to show that the army is not irrelevant in politics. Maybe Amin was aware that there was a virus going on in Africa, political virus, or military coups, especially in West Africa. So he wanted to prepare the public. But all along, I didn't think Amin had any idea or plans to become head of state. But with the time, he started evolving this image. I'll give you an example. One time, Amin came to the studio at about 8 at night, in the middle of our broadcasting, with the 2 pickups of soldiers, and he walked to my office. I was around, and he said, "I want to appear on TV." I said, "Commander," we used to call him Commander, a man of your stature in politics in this country, you just can't appear abruptly. We have to prepare the public." But strange enough, I didn't know how many calculated that Obote was not in the country. Obote was attending an alignment conference in Lusaka. And Amin walks in my studio and says, "I want to appear on TV." I said, "Now, Commander, we have to prepare the public. We have to tell them."
Was he asking for permission to appear, or
Literally
letting you know that
literally saying, like, "I'm walking to the studio." So I said, "Right now, Commander, we are broadcasting news. So we can't, everything's live in the studio." He said, he used to call me director. Can't be in Swahili. He said, "Kwenda kwa TV saa hii naongea." From what I know. Hello? For what I read in history, the person who has just handed over the microphone and took away the dead one could not have survived this event during Amin's time. It would have been sabotage. And sabotage, there was only, it was a capital offense by firing squad. So my friend, thank God you are 40 years late. Otherwise, things would have been different. However, coming back to the story of Amin and appearing on TV, to emphasize that he knew what the media was all about. Amin says, "I have to appear on TV." I said, "Commander, you can't." And I said, "No, director, I want to." So I said, "Oh, fine. Let me prepare the studio for you." And I went to a different office to start telephoning various political leaders, starting by then my Minister of Information, the late Alex Ojera. I said, "I have the commander of the army here. He wants to appear on TV. What do I do?" He said, don't ask me. You are the director." I said, "Two, why are you calling me? I'm the Minister of Information. Call the Minister of Defense." I tried to reach the then Minister of Defense, Felix Onama, the late. He said, "Why are you asking me?
you are the director?
You are the director." I said, "Sir, what do I do?" This was not a period when telecommunications had been perfected. The last resort of consultation was to call the president himself in Lusaka. And in those days, to call overseas, you had to book. Yes. Now, booking while this man is waiting in the studio would not have been
a moment, Honorable Awori.
Exactly.
Can you describe what you call booking?
Oh, book.
Because
He could not.
these people just press their things and they
And
get
they
to
go.
London.
Booking more or less, you have to call the telecommunications office and say, look, I want to call such a number. Then they will say, wait, we'll call you back another 40 minutes beforehand. Before we got this internet and so forth. Anyhow, to cut the whole story short, I was in a fix because I wasn't sure. The last thing that was going to appear to get to my mind was that Amin was going to announce a coup.
With your assistance.
Exactly. So I said, no, this is a difficult situation. Let me look around for some people who can help me. By dint of luck, who shows up at the studio? Lieutenant Colonel at that time, Ohite Ojok. I had a feeling somebody telephoned Ohite Ojok to say, Amin is in the studio. Because he couldn't have just appeared just like that. And he came and I said, look, I'm glad you came. I'm in trouble. You have seen the people outside. Soldiers. Amin is in the office. I don't want you to come there yet. I said, no. I said, look, we are going to do a setup, which Amin wanted. I took him, strangely enough, I took him to the office of somebody called Bob Astels. Bob Astels was my operations manager, the man in charge of ground organization of the broadcasting. We went there and I said, look, what do we do? This man could do anything. So what we're going to do, help me, you come and appear on the panel. We're going to appear as if we are going to question him, to interview him. Meanwhile, we want to ask him to bring all escorts, the 2 pickups of soldiers who escorted him, to come into the studio. And Amin will tell him, we call these people to make the atmosphere right. In other words, they were like a backdrop, setting up a proper situation for a military commander to talk. But really, the strategy was we are going to record the program and we put a monitor in the studio so that his soldiers, his escort, could be watching and thinking
that they are live.
They are live.
Permit me to shake your hand, sir, for that. Go on, sir.
Ohite Ojok about the story. He said, that's the best thing, and I'll come with you to the studio. So we called Amin. He was sitting in my office. He said, the studio is all set, ready for your interview or your statement. He walked in, very happy. He's called, director, wewe najua hii kitu mzuri sana. Director, you know these things very well. I said, we are now ready, and I've got your colleague here, Lieutenant Colonel Ohite Ojok at that time, to help us with the military questions and security issues. He said, yeah, that's very good. Then he asked me, can I also speak in Swahili? I said, perfectly all right. He said, that's no problem at all. So he comes to the studio and he greets the people. I'm the commander, and so and so, the general. And then he starts his speech.
What did he tell you? What did he say?
The first thing he said, I fear nobody except God.
Uh-huh.
That's the first time that statement came out in the public. I fear nobody except God.
Not even the commander-in-chief.
No, he said, I can serve any government, whether it's a DP or UPC. And I said, here comes trouble now. When a man, and I mean, often used to wear Obote t-shirts with the portrait. And we knew him as a supporter of UPC. Now here he is, for once he's saying he's prepared to serve DP, the opposition party, and is prepared to continue serving UPC. Then he talked about problems in the country. At that time we had a problem of what they call the condor. Kondo
Armed robbers.
Armed robbers. He said, I'm going to deal with these people. The police are sleeping. I'm going to deal with them. Now, that some people are saying, I'm still looking for that tape. I wish I could get it. That was preparatory.
Where are you looking, sir?
I'm there moderating the program. And I said, here comes the trouble. Then he started talking about the Kavaka. I said, trouble comes.
The Kavaka was at that time in exile.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
You see, why should anybody be in exile? Why do you abolish people's leaders? I said, now, what is he going to announce next? I said, look, I asked him a question. You see, when we talk about leaders right now, we talk about political leaders who are elected and the military leaders like you, security leaders like you. Yes, I agree. And you know, there will be no UPC without Amin. I said, no. Again, the problem is coming. What else is you going to say about UPC? Amin, semi-literate as he was, not articulate in English, but he was what you call nowadays media savvy. He knew the role of the media. He was preparing the public. Anyhow, we cut the program short to say, look, people are beginning to telephone again to make him feel like something's happening. But anyway, the program ended. He left very happy. He went home with his people, escort. Within 15 minutes, he comes back. He said, nobody saw the program. Nobody saw me on TV.
That is what I was waiting for.
Nobody has seen the program. Nobody has heard me. I said, Major General at that time, Major General, I have been looking for you. We didn't know because the telephone, you know, this telephone, it's not easy. You have to reach the command. I wanted to tell you, the equipment had failed. There was a technical problem. But he said, I knew the saboteurs had done it. I want to attack me too. I said, but you see, Major General, a man like you, we can't go on air unless we are also recording, just in case there's a technical problem. I said, sure. I said, we can play it back. And we played back, and he saw it. I said, yes. He says, yes, you are a very good man. And now I'm going to warn people to wait for your program. Tomorrow.
He's already now the program's manager.
Yes. I said, yes, we'll do that for you. You can be sure you'll be on the air. Just to postpone events, because I knew the following day, by 11 o'clock, Obote would be back from Lusaka. And I was waiting for Obote at the airport. He arrived at 9 in the morning.
In time for your relief.
Exactly. I said, Your Excellency, I have a problem. What's the problem? I said, Major General. I said, oh, that one, they telephoned me that he came to the studio. What did he say? I said, he wanted to announce, make statements. We recorded a program, and I've got it. Do you want to see it? He said, okay, when we get to Nakasero, at that time it was Uganda Club, bring the video, and we shall play it with Amin, with the Wanyama and Ojera, to see what he was saying. And for sure, that's what we did. And they called a meeting, Defense Council, for the second time. The first time was on a different matter. And now the question is, you asked Amin, what were you trying to say? And Amin said, well, you can watch the program and you see. You know, people like to underestimate Amin for various reasons. Maybe because he was not articulate in foreign languages. But what they call streetwise, sharp, very sharp. He knew how to react to certain situation. And Amin agrees, fine. Then I said, see, now I've cleared with the president, we're going to play it back. But of course, with Amin, with the president, he said, no. That's going to cause problems. But anyway, fast forward. Later, problems develop. Friction develops. Now, certain investigations start taking place regarding security. Amin comes to my house at night, again to say, I want to appear on TV, to correct these rumors that are spreading around.
Which year was that, you think?
Now, soon after Okoya's
1970?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, again, unfortunately, as I said, they call up Amin and to explain. He didn't explain satisfactorily. I didn't attend that particular meeting because the previous meeting where I went to attend the Defense Council meeting as a witness was after the shooting, the attempt on Obote's life. Again, Amin and I, by whatever design, when Obote was shot at 1969, November, Amin, we to joke again by coincidence, went to Amin's house in Kasolo to alert him that the commander-in-chief, the president, has been shot at, has been rushed to Mulago. We don't know whether he's dead or not. But Amin, somehow in his mind, they had also come for him. So he jumps over the fence, and Amin takes off. Now for us, we were rushing the film of the shooting of Obote at Lugogo after the UPC delegates conference. I meet Amin at a roundabout not very far from here, Lugogo roundabout, on foot. Apparently, Amin was sure they had come for him. I stopped the UTV van, we picked him up. I said, Commander, what's the problem? Where is your transport? He said, just take me to Bombo. These are things which we have been holding up. We didn't want to talk about in public. But that is the day Amin could have taken over the government if he had wanted to. I gave him the van. For me, round about Kororo to Nakasero, not very far. I walked, I told my driver, take him to Bombo. He organized himself and actually took charge of the city in terms of security. Most people didn't know. But for us, the UTV, we simply made a statement. We said there has been a problem at Lugogo. The president is in Mulago. And that was the end of it at that time. But Amin had mobilized APCs, enough soldiers to take all the facilities, security-wise. No, this sounds like fiction, but actually it happened. But people were not conscious. People were not conscious of this kind of military thing at that time. There had been problems with the Bulange, but not as serious as this one. But anyway, to cut the whole story short, Amin eventually was called, why did you desert? You are our commander. And Okoya was in the lead, the late Brigadier Okoya. He said, you deserted your commander when he had fallen. He didn't take it too kindly. Since then, things never went well until Okoya's death. The circumstances under which Okoya died, I can't link them to what happened at the Defense Council meeting. But anyway, let's go back to the media and Amin. Amin somehow had his right-hand man in the UTV called Bob Astles. Bob Astles somehow, he outwitted me. Here I am, a graduate of Harvard, one of the best universities in the world.
The other time you had called it a small school, not now. Huh?
Bob Astles, every film regarding the army was in his custody, was always kept in his office, as if he knew something in the future is going to happen. Or maybe he was aware. But I like to repeat it. To the best of my knowledge, when I worked with Amin, not for Amin, with Amin, he was not that stupid. Two, he never indicated to me, notwithstanding the invasion to the studio, that he was after the government. That's why I would like to deviate a little bit from the topic and say Amin's taking over the government was a cumulative effect of various incidents. Number one, there had been this business of people looking down upon him because he could speak English properly. And we know in Uganda we have this problem of measuring your education and intelligence by the way you speak English. If you can't speak English, I remember some people telling me one time doing a program called Topic for Discussion. The Pope had just been here. And they said, mean the Pope cannot speak English? You know, the attitude had been English is the apex of everything. Education, finesse, everything. So people's tendency was, look, Amin can't speak English. What kind of commander? And there were several people who could speak English. People like Canon Ndahendikire, where were the commanders? Oito Joke was coming up very rapidly. But anyway, coming back to the media, the day Amin took over the government, I think he remembered the previous incidents. This time he didn't come himself. He sent people to collect me from my house so that he could announce the takeover. The coup was in place. And you know, in those early days of technology, communication technology, you only have to take over the telecommunications office and the sole media, the only broadcasting facility, radio and television. So he came to me and said, what? He sent his people, said, we want you to come with us to the studio. And obviously the mood of the soldiers was indicative of what was going on. Two, I was aware that something is terribly wrong in security by the time Obote left for Singapore. As a matter of fact, I don't want to say this now, it looks like I'm 40, 50 years late. I was supposed to go with the advance party to the Commonwealth Conference, Singapore. But somehow I sent one of my people, I said, no, the situation at home is a bit slippery. So I stayed. As if Amin knew I had stayed, and then he sent people to come so that we could go to the television. They came at about 11 at night p.m. They said, we want... Exactly, all our transmission would end at 11. So I said, look, the television, the radio is off. There's nothing we can do. We can record whatever you want. They said, no, we want it now. So I said, again, I just have to repeat what I did some months back. I said, we can go and record. They said, no. Can you switch it on? I said, look, all my technicians have left. What can we do? We can't look for them. Those are the days before these things came. We can't collect, no by phone. So eventually, they left. The following morning, they came to collect me. They said, you refused the commander, they should call him commander, to make a special announcement. A lot of people didn't know what was going on, but the number of security personnel in the streets of Kampala indicated there was something definitely, wrong. But anyway, eventually by midday, they had bundled me off or taken me there, and
And you announced your coup.
They announced the coup. They announced the coup, but the repercussions were difficult, of course. The rest, as they say, is history.
Honorable Awori.
But I must say, very frankly, the media has changed our politics. Especially technology has changed politics. I can even, with your permission, Mr. Director, touch on a very sensitive matter, the role of the media in the last presidential and parliamentary elections. A lot of people didn't know the interference with internet, communications, everything. Again, I hope nobody will. Is it live?
Now you better put yourself in the situation of that time. Stand warned.
I can see the difficulties you people had. Very difficult situation. I was the Minister of ICT. And ICT, you control the entire communication system here. If you people don't know. I just have to switch off the internet and you're deaf. You can't hear anything. Even the social media you're talking about now, the VPN has come in to overcome in case you want to interfere with the social media. The VPN is too expensive. China has tried it. It's not working. So technology has now really begun to influence the role of democracy and how you plan it. Okay. If you can't do it, that's it. If you don't have the media, you are not going to rule the country. Before I left the cabinet, somebody said, how can we control social media? I said, the only way to deal with the social media is to get involved in it.
Thank you very much. You can see the dramatic way in which the director of broadcasting wound up, and he left us at what we call a cliffhanger. I am warned that we don't have much time. I told you it is very difficult to host resources like this. I used to think I was a resource, but now I've discovered that miles and miles. We are going to entertain a few questions from from you members, and then we...
There are things you could say, but cannot be broadcast.
You are speaking as the director of broadcasting.
Exactly.
Thank you.
As a manipulator of communication.
Great. So could we have a few questions, and then I am the speaker, by the way. Yes, you better be careful with me.
Thank you. My name is John Bijemano.
Yes.
I'm a former staff of the UBC. I was a programs assistant to Radio Uganda. I'd like to ask Honorable Awori, Harvard trained in an area that had absolutely nothing to do with TV. Would you like to elaborate?
I didn't give my complete CV.
Give it briefly, sir.
I just talked about Harvard, but also I was trained at Syracuse School of Communications. That was strictly communications. I was also trained at Thomson College, the British BBC training area. And I spent time here and there in the communication system. And I don't want to talk about the rest. They will say, oh, no wonder you are in ICT.
But you also went there. Yes, so you can speculate on what he hasn't said. Yes, that is Dean Chibirige.
Thank you very much, moderator. My question goes to Honorable Aggrey Awori.
Again,
yes,
you are in trouble.
I know he was good in sports. Actually, he made a national record in 200 meters. And since you are good in sports, how good was President Amin in boxing? The second question...
I'm sorry, I missed the first one.
He said you are a sports personality. And then he said, how good was Amin in boxing? Because there could be an Amin hyped by the media and Amin the real boxer.
The other question goes to Hajj Nzereko and I think Mr. Kasolo. How many titles did President Idi Amin have? And how detrimental would it have been if you missed one of them, whether Hajj or Doctor or Conqueror of the British Empire? Thank you very much.
Honorable Awori.
Number one, yes, it's true. I rarely talk about my background in sports. I participated in the Olympics twice. 1960 as a sprinter and hurdler in Rome. And then also 1964, I participated in the Olympics in Tokyo as a hurdler and a sprinter. I must say, regrettably, that my record as a hurdler, 110 meters, not Akibu was 400. As I said, regrettably, it is still standing.
What are you regretting?
I mean, 40 years, we don't have young people to keep breaking these records?
That's a challenge. Thank you very much.
Really.
Now,
that's
how
number
about...
one. Number two, coming back to
the boxer.
The boxer. Amin was not just a boxer. Amin was a first-class rugby player. And that's how I first made contact with him. They were in Ginger. They came to Budo to play rugby. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I was also playing rugby, and I was a little bit bigger than I look now. And I was fast and I was strong. Amin he was a left winger, picked the ball and ran. And I tackled him. And Amin passed out.
What do you mean? You like a knockout?
Yeah.
Like a knockout?
Exactly.
What were you risking?
But we see we had tactics. We were still a soldier. You know, those of you who play rugby, if you use your elbow to hit somebody's stomach, he knocked the winds out of him.
Which is what you did.
Which I did.
Regrettably.
Regrettably.
Okay.
And I was disqualified by the headmaster from playing rugby, and now switched completely and stayed with athletics. As a boxer, we used to enjoy Amin. Amateurs used to fight for 3 rounds. If I remember correctly, as a small kid, Amin never went beyond 2 rounds. He always knocked out.
So it's not a myth.
It's not a myth.
Great.
That one I saw. And most of the time he used fight the boys from Kenya, KR. And one time, to break the myth, there was a boxer who was part of the Kenya Army before independence, KR, heavyweight, and Amin knocked him out. And for us to see a local man knocking out, with due respect, Muzungu, it was...
his opponent was a Zungu?
Yes.
It
It was epoch-making. So we came to admire Amin, and Amin enjoyed. I think if you have noticed, in most of the photographs where Amin is posing, he's always, when he's standing, he's always his thumbs in his pocket. So Amin, as I said, whatever I did, he would pose for the pictures, whatever.
Okay.
And I don't think he liked anybody who took his picture without notice. You can.
There's evidence there, of course. Thank you very much, sir. Now, Arjun Siriko.
Just briefly on what Honorable was saying about Amin, particularly in boxing. Remember when there was the movement had started to overthrow Idi Amin, people here had started calling him Mitube Satu. And then there was a song which was being sung here.
You sing it.
In Uganda.
Can you sing it?
And the song used to say, Amagulu gamulinga gamaya. That the legs are like that of...
Mr. D. Kasolo is an artist. We shall ask him to sing it. Yes.
Now we were saying, Amin amagulu gamulinga gamaya. Maya. Dali amagulu gamulinga gamaya. Amin had that song and he said, I think I want to tell you this properly because this is very important, and also people here, particularly around here, they are singing about Amin, that amagulu gamulinga gamaya. You should remember that me, Amin, I was a boxer, heavyweight boxing. Now, when I was a boxer, we used to train. That's why my chest is very big like this. And that's why if I box somebody, I had to make sure that I box knockout.
Completely.
Now you people, you are singing that amagulu gamulinga gamaya, that my legs are as tiny as that of ostrich. How could I not be like a Maya if I was the heavyweight boxer in East Africa? Secondly, you say that I've got 3 cats here.
The 111.
They were calling them 11. That he had the 3 cats here. Said that when they are young in Arua, his home district, usually people, or when they are nursing, when they have got headache, they bring very hot knife, and they cut here, and they cut here, and they cut here. And when they cut here, the headache goes away completely. This is very important. Now you are singing that we are Maguru Mitube Satu. You think we don't know this? I think we know this completely. So
and also,
for goodness sake, and also very important. So make sure that you don't sing anymore again. And of course, that was something to do with those who are now using music for the purpose of discrediting Amin. So you can see those were unseen unseen archives of Idi Amin for that matter. So it rhymes very well with this headache here.
So
with this headline.
Can we get Mutaka Dick to answer the question of titles very quickly?
I didn't get you very well.
How many titles do you remember the President Amin having? And what was the danger of not mentioning all
titles
of them? Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I mean, titles. This DSO?
Yes. No, let me help you. His Excellency, the President of Uganda.
His Excellency.
Life President of Uganda, Hajj, Field Marshal, Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC, BSO, MC, CBE,
Conqueror of the
CBE.
Yes.
Conqueror of the British Empire. So what was the problem of not mentioning them? That's what Chibidige wanted to know. Oh no, air.
What was the problem of not mentioning them? How could you omit them? Because all those were his names. I mean, if you're a news reader and you could omit one of them, you're on air, you will find VS. You're going to very safe or city waiting for you outside.
Okay, thank you very much. And
just a moment, Bwana President. Let me how he brought up those names. You have seen the pictures there when there were some Bazungus who were kneeling before him. Did you see those pictures? That's one of them. Now, what happened, he tricked those Bazungus to kneel before him. What he told them was when they were somewhere, he told them that in Africa, the big chiefs, in order to allow and appreciate any gesture from the outside elements, they were supposed to be talking to him when they were kneeling. And what was kneeling? So those people, unfortunately, knelt.
What is unfortunate?
Before him, of course, the photographers took the picture.
What is unfortunate there?
And there Amin said, I am the conqueror of the British Empire.
By the way, not only that, one day he made them carry him.
That's the same day.
No, kneeling down is different from carrying him.
That's the same day. It happened on the same event. Honorable Awori, as
a matter of fact, that was not the only occasion. The most conspicuous in terms of photographs is when the British government sent a general to negotiate the release, General Blair, for the release of the famous
Dennis Cecil Hills.
Exactly, yeah. The author of
The White Pumpkin.
White Pumpkin. Amin set up a situation whereby they put a small grass-thatched house.
Yeah.
And Amin was inside the hut. And he said, this man, to come in, he has to kneel, crawl. No. All being staged for the camera.
The media. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we are getting, I will just allow 2 questions and call it just 2. The lady. We are facing a time limit. You know what I mean.
Thank you very much. I'm Jackie. I work here. And I just wanted to know, out of curiosity.
Excuse me.
Yes?
You see, these days, you Ugandans below 40 have a problem. I am Jackie, and for you, that's enough. I am Tony Owana. Oh. Who are you?
I am Jacqueline Nyirachiza Besije.
Hey.
Yes.
Go on.
Yes, and I wanted to know, out of curiosity, when Honorable Aggrey, you were picked home the second time, did you feel as if you were under hostage since they were taking you in their vehicles? And after the announcement of the coup d'etat, how did you feel? Did you feel that you had betrayed your own country?
In less than a minute.
Could you repeat so that for clarity?
What she wants to know is, did you feel you were a hostage when you were being taken to assist in announcing the coup? And secondly, didn't you feel you had betrayed your mentor, Dr. Obote?
Number one, I didn't feel I was a hostage. I was working for the government and I was being taken to work. The content of the message was not known to me. I was not sure. Two, Obote knew very well that I was close to Amin prior to the coup. As a matter of fact, if I may repeat this time permitting, when they were planning to arrest Amin, Amin had to set up his own security guard. And he was training them at Vamananika, the old palace of Mutesa. And he took me there one time just to show that we enjoyed each other's confidence. And I took the pictures and he said, no, this one I'm not going to show. I keep them. When I came to report to Obote, I said, look, I'm sorry, Your Excellency. What I have seen today is different. All the army activities, we cover them publicly, but this one, I kept. Obote did not take it seriously. He told me to go and report to Akena.
Akena was the director of General Service Unit,
who equally did not take Amin seriously. Even a lot of people took Amin lightly. But Amin, yes. Later on, I learned that actually that group he was training was supposed to protect him in the event
of failure.
The warrant of arrest is effected.
Okay.
In the end, I think somebody advised him. You say, there is no way you can survive. Take the government. It was a last-minute decision.
Thank you very much.
I didn't want to correct my colleagues here last Saturday on how Amin formed the cabinet. That first cabinet was not a composition by Amin. Amin had no idea. That I can say. Amin did not even know some of those people. He hadn't.
I think UBC will have to host you on this one.
Ask any of those ministers whether they had ever met Amin prior to the announcement of ministers. That cabinet was composed by the British and Israeli embassies.
Thank you very much, sir. By virtue of the authority interested in me, I think I'm not going to allow your questions because we are really in trouble with time. You are always talking about term and time limits, so let's have them. Yes. Yes, my name is Tony Owana. Now this is what they call influence peddling. Let's have you very quickly and call it.
Influence peddling?
Yes. No, he didn't pay. You can only peddle influence if you have it.
Thank you so much. My name is Kawes Innocent, and mine is a suggestion following the stories on the line. I suggest maybe if all our panelists, Honorable Mr. Muhammad,
don't mention books,
them. Could write books for future reference.
Point taken. Thank you very much. The question was there. You pleaded for that one. Let's have it very quickly.
Thank you. My name is Gaki, and I have 2 quick questions.
Say again.
Gaki.
You have 3 questions? No. No.
But you
Use a trick and make it one. There's a book there on photography tricks,
You're already
man.
taking the time. I'd have finished asking the 2 questions.
No.
One, the first question really is to ask Mr. Awori to shed light on what really made Amin media savvy. Where did that come from? And also to give us Amin's contribution to the media in Uganda, because I've heard, for instance, that he introduced color television in this country. So besides the bad things that have occupied the afternoon, is there any good of Amin in terms of media development and advancement in the country?
He wants to know whether we recognize anything good done for the media by Amin, because all he has been hearing is bad.
Number one, Amin brought us color TV.
He's asking, how did Amin come to have the skills of using the media like you have shown? Although I think you said it, but I think you have to say it again.
Amin had a knack. He had what they call native intelligence. He knows what to pick out of his
intuition.
Exactly. So he picked from the media. As I was saying earlier on, we had been planning to have color TV. When Amin came, it was overnight.
Yeah.
He ordered and it happened.
Yes.
That is a contribution. We have never gone black and white again. We have stayed. Sometimes I wish he had focused on other areas also in the military rather than focusing his attention to grabbing the State House. But as I said, there were some other issues, but he was what we call native media savvy.
Thank you very much. In addition, we also got Mpoma Earth Satellite during his time, if I may add.
Exactly, and Arua.
So, yes, I think my senior here enjoyed the time when photographs were printed in another country, and it would take years to... So we are calling this a day. I am one of the least informed to be on this panel, but I'm very proud to have been here. I also want it to go on record. On the 29th of this month in 1986 is when I became editor of a newspaper, only because the editors of that newspaper had been arrested. Yes, that is when the late Wilson Wandera Rwande and Dr. Jesse Mashate were arrested in 1986 in connection with writing a story concerning a coup. So they were taken to Rubiri Barracks, and I was commissioned on the battlefield, take charge. Otherwise, I had been a junior reporter in their place, and unfortunately, that newspaper was banned. But I also remember that that's when I got my battlefield commission, without having had the benefit of proper training.
But Tony,
yes.
Can anybody in the audience tell us when Amin became Dada?
Yes, I know it is Fred Gwedeho. Answer that very quickly.
He was never Dada before he took over.
Yes, now when Amin took over, he had to...
Does he need it? Okay.
Yes, thank you. When Amin took over, he had to establish who was his father. When he joined the army officially, after being a cook in the war, he joined the army officially in 1946. He had to use the name of his father because that was the British. So his official father was Amin. So he put it there. Now, after he took power, they were asking for his father, but he did not name himself Amin. It is the people around who looked for the name of the former husband of his father, because the husband of his mother. Because you know when he died in 1974, Amin he closed the condolence book, and even he denied all the messages, the condolence that is his father. But it is the media who planted that name. But the name was one of the names of Amin Dada, the father. I mean the husband of his mother.
Fred Gwedeko, are you saying Amin had a real father and an official one?
No, Dada denied Amin, because you know that the brother, the brother of Amin with the same mother, he was a very short man who was living in Angola, and this one was big, and so he denied him and he threw him out of the home. That's why he grew up with that gentleman in Bombo, and also took him to the other place in Luwero where he reared the goats. But so that the official father denied him. But yes.
No. Continue.
Yeah.
Wind up.
Yeah. The problem, the question which is disturbing you, that why was Amin media savvy? I just kept quiet. But the real answer is that Amin had participated in the war. In the First World War, he was a cook and he was ironing. Second World War, then he was in the Kenya War. And in the war, there is more lies and more propaganda than fighting. So when you talk, Amin was media, that background is in the war. What you hide and what you reveal in the war is 90% different from what happens. So that explains why he wanted to use the media in everything. It is his war background. Any of you who has been in the war, I have been in the war myself, but that is why I mean used the media as if it is a war, because he knew how they lied on what they were doing against Mau Mau, how they lied on what they were doing in First World War. So that is his background. He used the media as it is used in the war to conceal the truth and promote something completely different. That is the background.
Thank you very much, Fred. I told you that I went to school with Fred Gwedeko, St. Mary's College, Kisubi. We are very powerful. And Fred is very modest about his own contributions to the war that brought this government. He's very modest. But I know that he narrowly escaped going to his maker during the capture of Kampala. Very narrowly.
But Tony, talking about the originality, I'm glad you have qualified that one. There's another issue which came up last Saturday, but it was not cleared. The issue of expulsion of Indians. Was it Idi Amin or somebody else?
It was the plan of your government, which he also took over.
Obote had started that program. Amin found it on the desk. He fulfilled it. And over and above that, Amin, as a child, you recall, his mother used to work with some people. I don't want to call it, I don't want to be racist. They saw what Amin saw, what his mother was going through.
And working for the Asians.
But I didn't want to say it.
No, I've said it.
And Amin vowed. This question of, I was in Tororo, I was in Karamoja when I dreamt.
It was deep down.
It was.
Thank you very much, Honorable Awori. I just want to draw the attention of the media to something that has been disturbing them. The gentleman here is not Sudhir Ruparelia. No. Yes, but I can assure you that if the... Can you stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. No, him. Kindly stand up. Stay seated. That gentleman is not Sudhir Ruparelia, but you really do resemble him. Permit me to ask the managing director of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation to probably come up here and give us a word. Mr. Winston Agaba.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure seeing you staying here for all this long. I want to thank the panelists and everyone who has been involved in these discussions that we're having. This is the beginning of the discussions that we want to champion as the national broadcaster. You can see that there's a lot of history that is not known. These discussions, I know we are still yearning for more, and we are going to continue them in the different facets of the lives that happened and that are yet to happen. We call upon all Ugandans to give us that support, to come forth and tell the Ugandan story. Because with the Ugandan story, we shall not only know what happened in the past, but appreciate it and prepare for a better tomorrow. Let's not underestimate ourselves. Our history is very rich, and if we don't document it, it will get lost. A big thanks to our partners that came on board, the University of Michigan, and the professor is there, and the University of Western Australia, where is Vox? Yeah, there he is. They helped us digitize these photographs. These photographs were in negative formats. Fortunate enough, the professionalism of those days, all the negatives had been labeled at the back in an envelope. And we have many more photographs that we're going to be digitizing. We have the reels. Honorable Awori was saying, I wish I could trace some of these things. Just this morning, yesterday, we dug up about 40 reels. Yeah, so, and digitizing these reels is very expensive. Fortunate enough, government is promising us that support, but of course it will not come in handy the way we want it. So we are calling upon all partners that can come and help us preserve this rich history. There's so much that we are going to be sharing, and moving forward, our programming is going to be more educative, more informative, and less entertaining. Because I think as Africans, we've entertained ourselves for a very long time. We need to get serious, dig into our past, prepare for today, and launch ourselves into the future. As the world is moving on digitally, we must catch up. Thank you so much, and we still have more panels to come. I encourage you to come and attend. Let's try and keep time, because time management is one of our biggest challenges, but I want to thank you so much. And for God and my country, please keep tuned in all our channels, and we shall be working with all the other partners, the Vision Group and all the others, because together we can make it better. We are not competing, we are complementing each other. Thank you so much.
Parliament is adjourned, Sendai.